This preview brought to you by Harness Racing Victoria.
Adam Hamilton with you to have a look at this tremendous meeting of harness racing, or trotting to be precise, coming our way out of Melton's Tabcorp Park tomorrow night, Saturday night. We've got the big meeting. It's one of the biggest in harness racing, and it's growing very, very quickly, this Great Southern Star card. What a tremendous night it is. There will be 11 races. The two heats of the Great Southern Star are races 3 and 4, and this unique event we'll see only for the second time in this particular Great Southern Star that the horses go around in races 3 and 4, and the 10 qualifiers then line up in race 9 to contest a final. The heats are $50,000 Group 1 races within themselves, and the final, race 9, carries a $300,000 purse. Love this race. It's modelled on the great Elite Lop Trot over in Sweden. The Little Brown Jug over in North America is similarly made up of heats into a final on the same race program. It's also a great fundraiser and awareness improver for women's cancer, and you'll see a strong teal coloured flavour through the meeting. A number of the female drivers have been competing in recent weeks, headed by Kate Gath in the teal driving pants. Well, let's get into it. We're going to let you know about a $25,000 jackpot for the early quaddie, a new bet type that tab.com.au is offering. And the early quaddie starts on the first 4 races. When we get to the end of the preview, I'll give you my suggested early quaddie, but it's a great way of getting involved. The traditional quaddie still sits later in the program. On all harness meets now, it's on races 5, 6, 7 and 8. Early quaddie, races 1 through 4. So let's start by having a look at the opening event. And here we see a very talented trotter in the Boss Man resuming from a break. The Boss Man has certainly showed a lot of promise as a youngster. Hasn't been in action for a while, but has had some trials in preparation for this. So I'm going for the Boss Man on top. Won a couple of recent trials, beat the Pacers back on March 17. The trick for Scotty Dyer, trainer and driver, is that the Boss Man starts from inside of the back row, and it's only a 1,720 metre race. Going for the Boss Man though, number 8 on top to beat number 11 Triumphant Monarch, a former talented New Zealander who hasn't quite kicked on for Chris Elford as he might have hoped. This one also resuming from a spell, ran second against the Pacers back on March 3 in a trial at Melton, which was a good sign for a first up performance. Then to number 4, Mr Gunson, has good gate speed. The likely leader here led when second to Cardigan Boko and only just nosed out. Cardigan Boko would be very hard to beat in a race like this. And in for 4th, I'm popping number 9, Dawn Tears. Was also out of that Cardigan Boko race last time out. Sat 1-1 and battled away quite well to run in 4th spot. So in the opening event, I'm going numbers 8. Clearly on top, but we'll need that little bit of luck from inside of the back row, the Boss Man. 8, 11, 4 and 9 in race 1. Let's go to the second event now, and this one is all about manners. I've got to say it's a disappointing field, to be honest, and Dizzy Interest, who has only had that one run back from a break, certainly holds all of the interest here. Has a stack more talent than any of its rivals, but did make a mistake and got it all wrong first up. So if Dizzy Interest does it all right, it certainly should be winning. As we have a look at my selections here, you've got to go on the expectation that Dizzy Interest will get it right and get the job done. Ran 5th in the Victoria Oaks, which certainly is a lot better than most of these would ever be capable of doing. Made a mistake first up, got back, passed a few in the run home. Will be certainly better for that run, you would expect. Number 7, El Galleon. Broke at the start and lost all hope last time out, and then ran a good second at Maryborough 3 starts back. That would be good enough to be at least the second best on ability in this race. Number 1, Sweet As Say. Upset winner after sitting 1-1 at Shepparton last time out. Again, draws nicely, should be competitive here. And the ultra-consistent, no-mistaking Pegasus is an improving type for the informed Brent Lilly stable. Did run a good second last start out at Shepparton and has to have at least a place hope here. But if Dizzy Interest turns up, does it all right, it'll be winning. In race 2, I've gone 11, 7, 1 and 4. Well, that's the first two races. Now we get into the first heat of the Great Southern Star. It's race 3, and there's a fixed odds market up on this one, and we've got a clear-cut favourite. It's the very, very talented New Zealand visitor in Stent, an impressive winner of the Group 1 Trotting Grand Prix at Melton last week. Had a beautiful trip there, but Stent draws barrier 1. Probably should show enough gate speed to maybe sit in behind the likely leader, which most expect might be Cyclone Jake, who really runs the gate nicely and is drawn barrier 4. So Stent at $1.70, Blitzen Calder, an emerging talent at $3.80. Aleppo Midas, gee, she was good from a long way back last week in the Grand Prix. She's at $4 and drawn nicely in barrier 3. She's not quite the full package at the moment, but she's got a lot of ability. Then we're out to $13 for Rainbow JJ, Cyclone Jake at $14, and the speedy beginner Cold Sister, she's drawn out wide, but she's kept safe in betting at $21. Really got to go with Stent here from the barrier draw. Gate speed is going to be the key. If Stent is good enough off the gate to lead, then obviously he would certainly be winning this race for Colin De Philippi, of course, who won everybody's hearts with his success about 15 years ago with the Mighty Mouse, Courage Under Fire. Colin's first trip to drive at Melton when he won with Stent last week in the Grand Prix. Going for Stent on top. I think the most likely scenario is that Stent will be sitting in behind the brilliant beginner Cyclone Jake, getting the sprint lane or the passing lane in the home straight and using that to go on and win. Number 1 Stent to beat number 2 Blitzen Calder. His on-again, off-again campaign for this race was given the tick when he trialled really well against the Pacers at Cranbourne last Saturday. He's got a lot of ability. He just struggles to get going early in his races. I'm not sure the sprint trip's going to suit him at this sort of level at this stage of his career, but still he's got a good chance from the draw. Number 3, Aleppo Midas, if she does it all right and reproduces the sort of display she produced last week in that Grand Prix, she's got to be a big chance from barrier 3. And Icy Earl is a talented sit sprinter who will appreciate it if it's genuinely run. He'll be finishing off very strongly. But I'm going with the favourite Stent, 1 to beat 2, 3 and 5 in the first heat of the Great Southern Star Race 3. Let's go to the second heat now, and I think there's a little bit more depth in this one. We're going to show you the fixed odds market here, and the market indicates that. We have got a clear favourite in Keystone Dell. Now, he's a former New Zealander, 2-time winner of the Group 1 Glenferrie Challenge up there at Menangles Tabcorp Park on Inter-Dominion Day. And he had to do the work last week outside of the leader in the Grand Prix, and he battled away really, really well. I don't think he'll have to do that sort of work again. I thought he was pretty close to the run of the race last week. Keystone Dell, he's on top for me to beat Flying Isa. You can see the market there. Keystone Dell at $2.60. Flying Isa at $3. A little disappointing after leading last week. And my high expectations, the early season star, but the opposition's getting harder, and it's a bit of a tricky draw for my high expectations out wide this time. More on my selection shortly, but I want to take you back to that Grand Prix race last week where Keystone Dell had to do the work outside of the leader. We've got Flying Isa in front, Keystone Dell doing the work outside of it, and there's Stent in those dark blue colours, just getting to third on the outside after having a beautiful run in transit. I think Keystone Dell battles away well here to run fourth.
Midas, Stent zoomed to the lead though, and Stent's racing clear. Aleppo Midas is up to second, but Stent wins it. Second Aleppo Midas, a photo for third. Keystone Dell, who was a big run, and my high expectations.
Well, that's certainly the defining race. I mean, look at all of the trotters around that finish there. Look, Stent won very impressively, but when we picked up the replay, you hadn't seen that he was parked 3 back on the fence. He had a beautiful trip. He got into the open at the right time. I'm not taking anything away from him, but he was entitled to win on the run that he had. Keystone Dell did all of that work outside of the leader and battled along well. You saw Aleppo Midas, who's in race 3, the previous heat, running a good race. And Flying Isa was disappointing after leading, I think, but he can certainly improve on that performance. Keystone Dell is the one I like out of that replay. Don't think he was suited having to do the work, and I think he'll be even better suited to the sprint trip. He's got a phenomenal record in sprint trotting races. Putting him on top, number 3, Keystone Dell, to beat number 1, Flying Isa, who may be better suited dropping back to the sprint racing as opposed to the longer trip last week. Number 6, My High Expectations, has just been fantastic this season. You know that he's going to run a wonderful race again. An Elegant Image won the Night Pistol Trot 2 weeks ago. He was given a break, and when I say a break, he was given the week off. He missed the Group 1 Grand Prix last week to stay fresh for this particular heat and final on the one night tomorrow night, the Great Southern Star. He's drawn awfully. If he can get through the heat, I think he's going to be a genuine chance in the final. Trainer Andy Gath tells me he's got him about as well as he's ever had him, Elegant Image. But I like Keystone Dell to win the second of the Great Southern Star heats. That is race 4. Let's go over to the 5th event now. And, well, Chris Lang, whenever we've got feature trotting programs, Chris Lang Sr. is a major player. And he's going to be here with the very, very promising Maori Time. Showed a lot in its last season in just a limited sort of preparation. Has come back. I wouldn't say it's been absolutely stunning, this preparation, but certainly been getting the job done well. And Maori Time has good gate speed and looks very, very hard to beat again tonight. So I'm going Maori Time on top to beat Queen's Vacation. Maori Time's got the gate speed to take advantage of barrier 4. Now, Queen's Vacation got into all sorts of trouble last start. Forgive the run. Good second behind Maori Time back on March 8 is a good pointer, drawn barrier 2. Number 9, Paris Pepperell, ran on well to win at Shepparton last week and is in really good form at the moment. Next best, number 5, Bella Chevelle, who just keeps running nice races but doesn't quite have the class of the favourite Maori Time. Race 5 for me, I'm going 4 to beat 2, 9 and 5. Princess of Speed is race 6, and this is a really good race. I'm pretty keen on the chances here of Claudie's Princess. She was 4th in the Breeders' Crown final last season, and that was in a really good final behind the likes of One Over the Moon and also the very, very brilliant I'm Stately, who has unfortunately been injured and won't be seen in action maybe at all this season. Claudie's Princess has got the class. She's come back with a couple of wins this campaign, 3 starts for 2 wins and a second. Wasn't disgraced when beaten. She's got the class and she looks very, very hard to beat here. There's an interesting runner here. First up from a break, Barefoot Sally. A couple of good runs last campaign, only lightly raced, but I think that this filly can certainly go on and have a really, really good campaign. Has been prepared for this with a couple of recent Shepparton trials. Should run well first up and might be one of the very few dangers in this race to the class run of the favourite Claudie's Princess. Number 5, Majestic Grace. You've certainly got to keep Majestic Grace safe here. Drawn reasonably well to use some gate speed. And My Valerie, you look at the form card and see 7 wins from as many starts. They've been in pretty moderate races up at New South Wales at Menangle, and the times, given how fast horses run at Menangle, have not been overly quick. I'm not discounting My Valerie, but I'm also just warning you that the picket fence form is a little bit flattering. So there's my thoughts in race 6. Let's go over to the 7th event now, and this is the Trotters Free for All. We've got a betting market available on this one, fixed odds-wise, and it surprises me that Brunelleschi is as short as it is. Good performance first up, but it's the $1.70 favourite. Glenfrey Dreamer is at $2.70, and then we go right out to $9.50. Neville Vaughan is dropping dramatically in class here, and then Al Parker, who I liked on an each-way basis last week, did scramble into 3rd, but was a little bit disappointing. More on my thoughts on the race shortly, but I want to take you back. Glenfrey Dreamer, I want to go back to the last start, 5th at Melton. This was on the 7th of March. Drew wide, got a long, long way back in a race where they were dominating up front. And let's pick up the call here, remembering that the leaders dominated, and Glenfrey Dreamer is certainly better suited when right up on the speed. I still thought this was more than a pass mark. Let's go to the call.
Tackled by Cardigan Boko. Cardigan Boko goes up to Mr. Gunson. Cardigan Boko put its nose in front and won it. No surprise they run 1-2. If he could have got the Quinella on a lap out, it would have been easy work. They walked and they sprinted, and Cardigan Boko, the favourite, beat Mr. Gunson. The Bohemian 3rd, then came either Dawn Tears or Steal a Sixpence. Next time was Glenferrie Dreamer, then Mr. Elwood Love You Good Boy.
Well, I think Dan Malecki's call sums it up. He talked about how they walked and just sprinted home in that race, the leaders up front. So that's what made it very hard for Glenfrey Dreamer trying to come around the field from a long way back. Now, you might look on face value and say Glenfrey Dreamer didn't hit the line overly strongly, but it was literally a 200-metre sprint up the home straight. It was a bit of a non-competitive race, and I was really impressed by Glenfrey Dreamer's performance. So I think Glenfrey Dreamer at the $2.70 represents better value than the favourite Brunelleschi in this race. So I'm going to go Glenfrey Dreamer as one of my bets of the night. Chris Elford driving for the Craig Demler stable. Craig, of course, has got Blitz Them Calder in one of the heats of the Great Southern Star. Glenfrey Dreamer to use its gate speed. I think that might be the difference here, and roll to the front quite possibly. Now, Brunelleschi had to do the work outside of Zetterlight and battled away well without ever looking as though it was going to beat Zetterlight last time out. If Brunelleschi's got to sit outside Glenfrey Dreamer, it'll make it a little bit harder again for it. But shorter strip fitter for the first up run, and Brunelleschi is a dual feature race winner. El Paco was disappointing, even though it ran third last week. Couldn't quite keep up with the likes of Brunelleschi and Zetterlight. Was sort of left flat-footed a bit when they sprinted and just battled down the home straight. And Neville Vaughan, well, it's dropping back from running against a lot of the trotters that are lining up in the heats of the Great Southern Star. So, yes, it's drawn wide, and there's a couple of up-and-comers here, but you've got to respect Neville Vaughan. 3, 2, 4 and 7 are there at in race 7 at Melton on this Great Southern Star card. Let's get into race 8 now, and this is a race where trainer David Aitken, who is challenging Chris Lang Sr. for the title as the king of the trotting trainers in Victoria. I'm going to show you the fixed odds market here. David's got a very, very strong hand in this race with two of the favourites in Spider Girl at $2.80, Vic Chevelle at $3.30. They're both trained by David Aitken. He's driving Vic Chevelle, and Chris Elford is aboard Spider Girl. Quite a Moment at $4 is drawn nicely in barrier 3. Then we go out to She's an Image for Chris Lang Sr. is drawn out in barrier 6, but has really good gate speed, and there you go. That pretty much sums it up. They are the four majorly in contention in the Gold Series final in the Breed for Speed. I'm going to go here for Vic Chevelle. I thought the performance, now this was a race where when they raced against Spider Girl and Vic Chevelle first up, Spider Girl started a lot shorter, but I thought Vic Chevelle was absolutely terrific winning. So Vic Chevelle on top for me to win and beat Spider Girl once again. I think David Aitken's got the two key runners in the race. Then for third, I'm putting in She's an Image. Now, she's got the front row draw and also the gate speed. So she's also got form having beaten Zetterlight and Aleppo Midas, and obviously Zetterlight and Aleppo Midas are up in Great Southern Star contention. So it is a pretty good form line through She's an Image. If she was able to roll to the front, she'd take a lot of beating. And next best, Quite a Moment just doesn't know how to run a bad race, but I'm just not sure that Quite a Moment's got the class of the likes of Vic Chevelle and Spider Girl. So for me there in race 8, I'm going 10, 11, 6 and 3. I like the David Aitken trained pair. Race 9, well, we can't exactly preview it because this is the time slot for the Great Southern Star final. We won't know the final field until after the heats are run as races 3 and 4 tomorrow night. But what we can show you is the fact that there is pre-post betting on the final for this race. So you can bet on who will win the final before the heats have been run. And the favourite at this stage is Stent. And of course he's favourite because he's $1.70 to win his heat. Keystone Dell at $3.80. Flying Eyes are at $4. My high expectations at $6. Blitz Them Calder is at $8.50 with Aleppo Midas. Elegant Image has been $18 into $12, which is interesting because he's $10 to win his heat. And then we go out to Kai Valley Blur at $18. We've got tremendous coverage coming your way out of Melton's Tabcorp Park tomorrow night. All of the coverage on Sky Racing 1. Greg Hayes will be heading up the coverage. The opening race is starting at 6 o'clock. I'll be there, Greg Hayes will be there, and of course Jason Bonington will be on board to give you the late mail, and we'll be getting you interviews, all of the betting information right throughout the night for Great Southern Star. Tune in tomorrow night. We'll be previewing the meeting ahead of race 1 at 6 o'clock. Let's roll on and have a look at the last couple of races on this program, on the 11 race card. And race 10, not everybody's cup of tea, the Monty, but I think on a big race program they had a bit of a dimension to it. What's a Monty? Some of you might be saying, well, this is where they ride the trotters under saddle. And we've got an international all-star cast amongst the the riders who will be participating in the Monty, and they include Chantel Sutherland, the outstanding female American jockey who has been seen extensively on Sky Racing this week, including a ripper segment with the Off the Rails team. Chantel has been brought over as an ambassador for the Great Southern Star, and she's done a wonderful job. It's going to be terrific to see her competing. We've got females in the race from Sweden, and it's a truly global representation amongst the riders. But to find the winner, I'm going to go with the classy trotter in the race, the trotter who's had a wonderful record in a handful of starts in Monties, and that is the Lance Justice trained Motu Young Jacob. Only disappointing run in a Monty was when Motu Young Jacob went out to the longer trip, the 2200. Coming back to the favoured 1720 metres, he likes to get out and bowl along. Champion driver Daryl Douglas will be aboard Motu Young Jacob. I'm going for him. 5 to beat Lysenko, who is the ride for Chantel Sutherland. Good luck to you, Chantel, in the Monty. I'm Ready Set is a former New Zealand trotter, trained by Chris Lang Jr. Paul Hamblin will take the ride. I'm Ready Set in for third. And To Learn Tiger, to be ridden by Marie Crosby, is very, very consistent in these Monty trots. So I'm going 5 to beat 3, 6 and 1 in the Monty, the Saddle Trot Race 10. As we go over to the final event on the 11 race program, and for me it's all about We're Gonna Rock. If We're Gonna Rock comes back, does it all right, I think We're Gonna Rock's going to absolutely roar through the grades this campaign. It's a good little race to finish up with. It's not a big field, but there's a few trotters in good form and potentially going on to bigger and better things here. But We're Gonna Rock for me. Couldn't find any trials for it, but first up from a spell, Pete Manning will have it fit. Kieran Manning takes a drive. To beat number 5 as Denro, 4 from 4 this campaign, but is stepping up in grade to take on a quality trotter in We're Gonna Rock. Number 3, Guiltless. Likely leader here, good performance last time out, is racing in tremendous form this campaign and should run a cheeky race again. And the improver for Chris Lang Sr. might be number 2, Aldebaran Eastwood. Led throughout in a moderate race at Ballarat last start, only had the 2 runs and is sure to be further improved again. So 6 to beat 5, 3 and 2 in the last of 11 races on Great Southern Star night at Melton's Tabcorp Park. Let's get to my summary of the meeting now. I was just trying to find a little bit of value rather than going for any of the short price favourites throughout the night. So in doing that, I've gone for Keystone Dell at about $2.60 to win one of the heats. The second heat, I should say, of the Great Southern Star. Race 4, number 3, Keystone Dell. My other bet of the night at the $2.60, $2.70 fixed odds. To beat the odds on favourite Brunelleschi, I like race 7, number 3, Glenferrie Dreamer. I mentioned on the way through that there is a $25,000 head start, a $25,000 kick start into the early quaddie. And I thought we'd look at this rather than the traditional quaddie for this Melton meeting tomorrow night. And in the first leg, I'm going to pop in numbers 4, 8 and 1. The boss man's clearly the one to beat, number 8, but does have to come from inside of the back row. I'm banking on Dizzy Interest doing it all right in race 2, and if Dizzy Interest trots throughout, it'll be winning number 11. In the third leg, race 3 of the early quaddie, Stent is the obvious one, but also popping in Blitz Them Calder and Aleppo Midas. And then in race 4, last leg of the early quaddie, again, Keystone Dell will be very hard to beat, but I'm just going a little bit wider and popping in number 1, Flying Isa, and number 6, My High Expectations as well. So we'll keep it fairly skinny. If we're successful, $27 outlay will get you the full 100% of the early quaddie dividend. It's going to be a tremendous program. Join us on Sky Racing coverage for a wonderful event, the Great Southern Star. It's truly an international trotting event being held here at Melton's Tabcorp Park, and the first event gets underway at 6 o'clock tomorrow night.
This preview brought to you by Harness Racing Victoria.